Hello, hello. People jumping in. Very nice. Right on time. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Cliff?
Very good. I'm Dylan here. Yeah, nice time for AMA session. So we can go through some really important stuff today.
Problem.
Let's maybe give one more minute to people to jump in, because I think some could be late. Then
Okay.
I'll give a word to
Problem.
KGX that will start.
Let me share my screen already. Go live. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah,
Yes.
please everybody just click on watch stream from KGX. He prepared some slides so we can go directly through slides. We'll just wait a few seconds just that everybody are in. AO Destroyer, did you create some nice bacon for this session?
Bacon is life.
I like it.
Okay. Dylan, we will also record the session of that.
Yeah, I'm already on it.
Okay.
Recording it.
Cool.
So let's see. We are around 9. So not so many, but still, while we will record it, then it's not such an issue. So we can go ahead and start. KGX, the stage is yours.
Merci. Thank you. So welcome everybody tonight. This time we actually prepared some slides, so we'll walk you through. On the agenda, we have actually 3 topics. Number 1 is updates to the rewards pool on the 1000Blocks space platform. Number 2 is upcoming changes to the space 1 and space 2. And number 3 is status, a little bit insight on the Infinity battles. I have reserved time for Q&A section after every topic. So I will first do the presentation of each one and then answer all of the questions on that topic. Presentation second one, answer question, presentation third one, answer question. If you have any questions in between, just write it in the chat already and then we will take it as soon as we are done with the topic. Okay, if I may start with the first one, updates to the rewards pool. As you may know, as very good supporters of the project, is that today the 1000Blocks rewards pools distribute BNBs to anyone who stakes BLS in the space vault. And this is kind of a simple architecture, how it works. So there's a wallet, you invest BNBs in one of the spaces, the BNBs go to the rewards pool, and whatever BLS you have, either from the space or buying from the open market, if you stake it in the space vault, then of course you get yielding BNBs based on the percent of the vault that you have. This is really a nice thing. I personally also loved it, the passive income, how a lot of people say it, because you'll constantly get some BNBs. And in the last 9 months, we have actually distributed more than 600 BNBs, right? That's quite mind-boggling. Now, in order to simplify our landscape, also the user experience, and comply with the regulations, we are actually decommissioning now the rewards pool and the space vault. Instead of that, we will introduce a so-called space treasury. What does that mean? Well, that means that as of Sunday, so the 15th of May, that's actually now 3 days ago, because we pre-announced that already, all the BNB collected from spaces on 1000Blocks are heading actually to the space treasury. Space Treasury is a smart contract. There's a link to it also in our Medium post. We will also start publishing that in other websites, so you can see what's happening actually with those BNBs. But everything which basically the proceeds, the BNB proceeds that the 1000 Blocks platform gets, goes into the Space Treasury now. So there will be no more going to the rewards pool. So the rewards pool is as it is. It will never go higher now. So what happens then with those BNBs that goes into the Space Treasury, right? That's the big question. Well, two things. Number one, we are introducing so-called BLS buybacks. And number two, we will use that funding also for targeted marketing for the 1000 Blocks platform. What is BLS buybacks? So the treasury, the BNBs collected on the Space Treasury will be used to continuously, but on random times, so that people cannot, the bot cannot find that out, buy BLS from the open market, which means we're gonna continuously buying the BLS from the market. Why, you may ask? Well, first of all, that is positive price pressure, right? If there's a continuously demand for BLS, but also we need those BLS because there's a limited amount of BLS, in circulations. And by continuously having rewards and with the infinity battles coming out where we need BLS, we actually need the BLS, so we need to buy them back. And with this, we can also ensure a certain sustainability also over time. The second thing is marketing. We have reserved, of course, a marketing fund. We still have that, but we also want to ensure that we have continuously marketing and continuously can operate the platform. Part of that Space Treasury is then also used for that because, well, we have some really nice partnerships coming up, not to be announced yet today, but that also requires a certain funding then. Now, the outstanding BNBs in the rewards pool will be fully paid out to the community until the 5th of June. So we're not taking any of that. This is the beauty of smart contracts. Everything which is still in the rewards pool gets paid out to everyone who stakes their BLS in the vault. You can still add BLS to the vault if you want. If you say, no, not worth it, you can withdraw it. But until 5th of June, that is open. Currently, when I looked, I think it's around 60 BNBs still in the rewards pool. Of course, it can fluctuate based on how much now that is. And again, all of it will be paid out to the community.
Just a second, KJX, something to mention here also. Right before the end, so let's say 10 or 5 days before, there will be also other option to stake your BLS tokens. So there won't be like that you then don't have option to stake your BLS tokens. We will introduce another possibility to stake them. This is also something that's coming up in the next days right before.
That's the third point here on this slide. Fully agree, but it's good that you actually highlight that. I put it a little bit smaller here. First of all, you will be able to stake, withdraw BLS, and harvest BNBs from the UI until the 5th of June. So if you go on 1000blocks.space, the familiar UI is there. You can use it, but after that, we will decommission that from the UI, so there will be no more widgets for that. We will have a backup UI so that you can still do it, but it will be a little bit more cumbersome. So please really, let's try to empty it. Let's try to harvest everything, empty it, and so on. But before that, happens, there will be, as Derlin also just mentioned, or introduce a new staking option for BLS as part of the Infinity Battles. That does not mean that Infinity Battles comes fully live yet, but we will have a staking option for the BLS already, and I can tell you it's going to be pretty sweet. So that's number one. Now, there's always a question, why are you doing that? I mean, the rewards pool, the BNBs were, core part of the 1000 Blocks platform. It was sweet BNBs that you can yield. Well, three main reasons. Number one, sustainability. Number two, simplification. And three, compliance. And three is probably the biggest one. So if I go to sustainability, again, we want the Space Treasury to ensure that 1000 Blocks platform has always enough resources to continue to operate, so to basically sustain that that machine of 1000 blocks, so that it's self-sustainable. At the end of the day, users will be more and more rewarded through exclusive spaces. At the end, we see that all of the spaces will be exclusive spaces, which means that the users can come to 1000 blocks and participate in any space and yield either BLS or yield King or Holo or other tokens upcoming. We have a nice lineup of those. And at the end of the day, the investors, the holders of BLS, well, they also get, let's say, rewarded in a way because there's a positive price action on the BLS through buybacks, right? So we ensure this, the good, let's say, the good investment of the investors. Now, when it comes to simplification, by removing the rewards pool, space vault, and also then the yielding and everything, also from the front page, we will massively simplify the 1000 blocks platform. Just much less to maintain, much less to develop, and it's much simpler for the users. One of the biggest issue that we still see for bigger adoption for 1000 blocks is that it's quite tricky to explain to users in terms of how it works. You have to go, oh, you participate in spaces, and then you earn here, and then you can stake there, and then you have something there. We want to make it really straightforward. You come to 1000 blocks, you participate in space, and you yield to earn whatever is in that space, and done. Right? And the user has the choice where in what space he wants to participate. Now, when it comes to compliance, this is something we haven't talked so much openly about it, but in the background, we had quite a lot of discussions. I personally was also in at least 4 meetings with with different legal offices from different countries. Is what is required to actually grow a project or to actually do sex listing or do a legal entity so that we can maybe even go full time on it and actually let's say have some proceeds or get some funding out and so on. And one of the big thing is your token, right? Is your token a utility or is it a security? And currently, how we have it set up, the 1000 block platform and with the rewards pool, it can be argued that it's either or, right? So it can, some say, yeah, it's utility, some say, no, it's a security. And in general, that's a problem because if it can be argued that it's either or, then it can be either or, which means that then we need to comply with a lot of things, a lot of paperwork, a lot of legal requirements and so on. And guys, these are numbers that we can really not afford at this point. No way. So for us to really go and make here a legal entity, and with this also ensure that we can then also continue with the upcoming funding that we secured, and with the potential listing, we really need to kill this dive from BLS to BNB and pave the way then for the future. So that's a compliance thing there, and we just think it's a necessary step, and it actually goes together with the sustainability and simplification. So yeah, I think it's just the right time for it. Now, with this said, I'm actually done with the first part of the presentation, and now is the time for the Q&A. That I will ask you to moderate any questions that are. I don't see them.
There will be 2 more Q&A sessions because you see we still have 9 slides left on KGX presentation. But let's just check first what we have in Ape Fiasco chat. Let's see.
Thank you very much for the first part of the AMA, KGX. If you guys have some questions, feel free to speak up now, either in Discord or write it down in the text channel Ape Fiasco chat. We already have a bunch of questions from before, so I would recommend we go through them in the end from the pre-question we have, so we don't mix up topics we haven't covered yet, because there is some more stuff is coming. But if you have a question right now about what we spoke already, feel free to ask them.
Okay, then let's do it like that. Thanks, Kled, for this reminding about that. Then let's go, as Kled said, first questions directly from you, and then later we will also check all the questions in there in the chat. So
There's
go ahead.
From Splash. What incentive do people have to pay BNB in the space?
That's a good question, and it really depends on the space, right? For example, space one, I will come actually to that into the next slide, but some spaces will still have BNBs as the payment method. Some spaces won't have that anymore, right? So, and each one will have different reasons why would you even invest into that, right? So in space one, we are changing that, and I will come to that later, into more of a billboard type of space. So there, the advertisers have more incentive to pay that, because we did our research, and that's still the cheapest way to advertise anywhere, right? So they easily can pay 10, 20, 40 BNBs to get their advertising space there, because we're going to utilize that billboard in different places. So that's one incentive why people would pay for that. In space two, yes, we have different events coming up. Again, I have a slides on that, and it's also based on BNBs. But then the question is, okay, what other spaces do we have from partner spaces? You also have to know that every space, exclusive space, there is a certain small minimal, almost a gas fee, but a transaction fee on BNBs. So there, people have the incentive to participate, because there are other rewards that we are getting from the exclusive spaces. Like I think what we had, like $5,000 with in one space that the community can earn, and so on, right? So there is always a reason to participate it, and so the inflow of the BNBs will continue, but the incentive is really based on the particular space.
Why would they not just buy BLS with their BNB? As well, a question from Splash.
Yeah, that's buy. Please feel free. No, that's you can always buy BLS with BNBs, of course, right? Uh, and then you just don't participate in the game, right? Then you just don't play the game. You don't have the fun of it. You can do either or, right? I don't think there's a silver bullet here.
Is there an Altura space planned soon? Question from EOD.
I will let Dylan answer that one.
So if there's Altura space, if we had that,
And, yeah, but if there's another one planned soon.
no, I can confirm there's no Altura this time, but something else. Something else is cooking. And yeah, once it's really fixed, once it's 100%, also from the partner, then we'll also announce it. But of course, we don't announce something that is still not 100%. Glad, yeah, you want to mention something?
No, I just told hype.
Okay, hype. Yeah. Was there another question, Glad? Also.
No, not on the text channel. Not yet. Nobody's typing. So I think we're done with the question, unless someone wants to speak up and ask something about what we already talked about before.
Okay, then I would just continue with the next slides. I mean, the next slides are updates on space one and space two. I actually gave a lot of it away in one of the answers, but still, let's recap it. As you see, we are now massively overhauling also 1000 blocks, and with this, we are also rebranding space one and space two. What does that mean? Two things. Number one, space one and space two will still exist. There will be the boxes there. You can still click on it and you can participate it. But first of all, we're going to rename it. We're going to also redesign it a little bit. And space one will be a so-called infinity billboard. What does that mean? First of all, there will be no yields in that. So only cover-up compensation. If somebody covers you up there, whatever you cover, there's a certain percentage, if I'm not mistaken, 65 or 20 percentage of that thing that the person has paid, who has covered up, that you directly get. And that's the ideal place for advertisers to place their crypto projects. As said before, we did the research and we know ourselves. I mean, we are also trying to do marketing, and in the crypto space, the prices, guys, there are sometimes crazy. So placing there a link to a project, for 1, 2 BNBs or 5 BNBs, I mean, that's peanuts to compare to what other platforms are requiring. So it's really a good place for advertisers to put their projects there on. Now, of course, if you're targeting advertisers for that, right? I mean, they want to have exposure, right? They want to have eye views. So we also want to use the billboard, so the Infinity billboard, in all the marketing materials, always. So always this will be kind of a living marketing material for us in the real world and in the meta world. We still have the plan to really cover up billboards in the real world, but also in the meta world and in the Infinity battles. And anywhere where we can present 1000 blocks, we're going to use that one, which means that any kind of project who has anything on this billboard will automatically get exposed also, right? So that's the purpose of Space One will be. But that, of course, means it's not so interesting for the small players anymore, but it will be interested to a certain other user group that we believe that we will very soon have, or already have now, quite good connections, and we believe we can make this work in a way. And secondly, then Space 2 will be rebranded to Space Apes Basecamp. So you can think about it, we have Infinity Battles, and we have then Space. For that one, we call it the Space Apes Basecamp. So here, users will be yielding still BLS. It will be more event-based. So there will be certain days in the month where it high yields, and there will be some topics and events and hours. And there will be idle days with lower yields. Everyone can join. Everybody is, of course, invited to the parties, but anyone who has Space Apes and joins will have additional benefits. We are still technically checking certain options, but what we can tell you already is that the people who have Space Apes will yield more one way or another, for sure, and so on. But we are also checking the possibility that if you use your NFT on the board, that maybe it's not available on the Space Infinity Battle, so that this is the time when the Space Ape recovers in a way. So it's a really good place to fill up the BLS for battles. So these are the two bigger changes coming on Space 1 and Space 2. Again, why? First of all, why is this needed? Why are we introducing the changes? To ensure sustainability, again, to the BLS token, but also to provide additional utility to Space Apes. So what does that mean? Well, Space One has until date emitted more than 5 million BLS. That's huge. That's the majority of all the circulation BLS is come from Space One. And today already it emits 12,000 BLS a day. That's a lot, even with the lower numbers that we put down now from 24 a block to 12 a block, it's still a lot. And by putting that to zero, well, again, it will be a positive impact on BLS because it stops the emission and it stops the, let's say, continuously dumping of the token. And quite honestly, we look through the numbers, we don't see a lot of activities in the last month or two even. So there's really a handful of users who would potentially even be, let's say, harmed by this decision. I saw there was some chat around this. We are open to discuss with anyone if somebody believes that this investment was not yet covered. But in general, we believe that for the majority, 90 or 95% of people, that should be okay. And by actually cutting this, it should be okay for everyone because the price of the BLS goes up, right? And we believe that we can make the Space One work more as an advertising space. So the Space Treasury gets more BNB. And then with the buybacks on BLS, again, it's a better sustainability model. Space 2 is actually the perfect home for dynamic events. Why? Because, well, it's developed also in a way that it can be dynamic. Space 1 is really static. Space 2 is more parameterized, so we can do a lot of things there. And with this, we can allow ourselves to have days where there's more yield, where there's less yield, where something's happening, changing the rules. And by adding utility for Space Ape holders, we'll make it more accessible for the Infinity battles. Because for Infinity battles, you need both. You need the Space Ape, but you also need the BLS, right? So the question is, do you buy now the BLS from the market, or can you get them somewhere else? And somewhere else can be then in the base camp, right? You can participate it, and it can be easy entry point then to the Infinity battles. Now, this was a super short update, only 2 slides for this one, and with this, already Q&A.
We have some questions already in the chat.
Awesome.
EO Destroyer asked, I wasn't sure if I answered it correctly. I told him from what I know it will stay as it is right now. He was asking, does the price keep going up as we buy the space? I think he's talking about the space one. Right now the price is rising. The more people that get covered, the higher the price is. Will this stay the same as it is right now?
Yes, it stays the same. Actually, we will most probably also implement a minimal threshold that it goes up. Currently, you just need to pay more, right? But we will probably implement it. You need to pay more, at least 20% more, so that there's also a certain push.
To add to that question, sorry to break in. You're saying that it's going to go up. You'll put a minimum there, which makes perfect sense from a marketing standpoint. Is there going to be a maximum though? And so right now it goes up incrementally based on the buyout. Now, are you going to put a max on there so that it doesn't like go all the way up to like 100 million or something crazy?
That's a good question. I would say, right, if currently that's not planned to put a max on it, but if that really happens, that somebody somebody invests so much that the price will go up so much, I mean, we will for sure need to think about something. But I would say that's a luxurious problem then to have, because that means then the space treasury gets quite filled, and that means that this buyback gets quite big, right? So I would really let's say let's solve that problem once it occurs. I don't think that it will happen so soon, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I would say for now no max. So
Okay, quick follow-up, and I apologize again. So with that said, do you guys have stop measures in place, or are planning on stop measures for the potential of someone putting in something that gets past your filters that should not be on the space itself, a message that's not proper or whatever?
Yeah.
Is there a way for you guys to buy that out or get rid of it?
We have already today, we have algorithms in place. We are using the same libraries and algorithms that Facebook is using for anything that people are publishing on it. So we don't allow any kind of child pornography or any kind of adult content. We actually have even problems that our algorithms are sometimes recognizing our space apes as not proper. So that's also not good. Yeah, so there is something in place already today, but I do see going ahead, we probably need to fine tune that even better. And as you said, if something happens that it suddenly gets published, right? I mean, then the question is censorship. To what degree do we basically say yes or no, and what is proper and what is not proper? But we do see that if we're going to start using this more as a marketing material on public platforms, we probably need to be much more conscious about it. We have some draft of the guidelines. We looked already when we were thinking about literally buying a billboard in New York. I was doing research on that, what are guidelines, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and so on. So most probably we're going to adopt a certain part of that, but we are not there yet.
There's already one more question from Clicker. Before we go over there, I just learned something new. My space apes are badass as well because they got filtered last time I tried to upload them. Great work. Next one is from Clicker. Safe driving Clicker, if you hear that. He had a question about marketing. I think Dylan can answer this. In what direction are you planning on going with pushing out 1000 blocks? YouTube, banners on sites, etc. What are the plans?
it's a hard question, I would say. But I would say like that. This will be more or less question for our marketing advisor, because as I mentioned before, we got one really good marketing advisor. I can also say that it's not only one, but even more. there were questions. Can we already introduce him? Can we already say who actually he is? I got confirmed from him that in the next AMA he will be present live. And for now, that's still everything that I will tell about that. Because also we always look also on market conditions and so on, and such good or really big news are not to be released in such conditions. I'm sure you all understand that. Once this is confirmed and done for the next AMA, he will be also live present. But yeah, as you asked the question, in which direction we'll go, we will follow his guidelines. We're really, once again, we're not marketing professionals, as you all know. That's why we need to focus on expertise of people that they're really good at it. And this time we really have someone that will take this from here and really push forward with marketing. That's all for now. Did that answer your question? Like halfway? I assume there will be no answer, so we can move forward.
He will re-ask while they are here, so probably on the next AMA then, from what he wrote.
If I could just add one thing, this is Beast over here. A lot of the approaches and things that, even like some of the things y'all mentioned are the traditional ones that you think of, putting a banner ad out, promoting it with a video or with an influencer. Those are the straightforward items. And the success, our marketing advisor that's coming on board has had is really understanding like the viral nature and how to capture that for a project and really amplify the utility and the capability that's out there. So there's like I don't know, call it an X factor that he's got a specialization in that he's had a lot of success with. So that's what makes us excited. And it's not necessarily a standard playbook, right? There's a little bit of study required and a little bit of, let's just call it homework on his part to really help put us on a path to get that that viral nature of marketing going, which is what we've been trying to achieve. But he's had a lot of success with it, so we're excited that he's able to come on board and support us.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really not like, okay, now we go with BitBoy video and that's all. We really need a clear, structured strategy for marketing, and that's something that we'll get with onboarding him and also his team. All right, Kled, something else?
That's
question?
all from now. Someone asked, will the days of high yield be set deliberately, or it will depend on the market conditions? I told him there will still be rewards on Space 2, and much more if you own a Space Ape. Wasn't too much, I told them, right?
The events, when there's high yields planned, it really depends. Sometimes it will be based on a certain events, what happens in in the daily life of people around the world. Sometimes it will be around the market conditions. So I think this will also be, let's say, a playground for our marketing team. When exactly those days will be. But what we know for sure, there will be for sure once a month at least an event.
Exactly.
So that's committed. Now, if that will be a little bit of the beginning or a little bit of middle of the month, that's open.
Yeah, so we commit here ourselves that 1 week per month there will definitely be an event going on Space 2. Different thematic, different stuff, maybe also from real life, something that's going on, situation, and so on. And in that time, there will be really a good yield up there. So yeah, this is also coming really soon, so you won't need to wait long for that.
If you have some more questions, write them into the chat, a Fiasco chat, or ask them speak up. Looks like there are no more. I think we can go on.
Okay, then let me go to the last section of it. Now it's time for a little bit sweet pea infinity battles topics. So, number one, I mean, I can recap that only the storyline. What are we doing with infinity battles? We are actually creating an online strategy game, web-based for NFTs, where actually you know by now that our space apes are designed on the real space apes that went to space before humans did. But the idea in Infinity Battles is that they actually survive in the space and they became more powerful. And they survived because, well, they found BLS out there in the space. And yeah, that helped them make them thrive. Now, how they found BLS? They found blocks that are emitting them. And this is the general storyline. So the apes are battling for blocks, and the blocks are emitting BLS. And I will now basically walk you through a little bit more about the game dynamics. It's more than some pieces were already shared in some kind of sneak piece. Some pieces will be new. So again, looking forward for your questions, and yeah, let's dive into it. Number one, so there are three key elements of the game. First of all, there will be blocks. Second of all, space apes, and then we have space objects. You know by now that we really love blocks, right? So then that's the native space ape, space gems, we call them. Blocks are basically will behave like asteroids. So they appear and they disappear. They will be there for a certain time and they will go. So the number of blocks in the space is not fixed. We will start with a certain number, but that number will increase the more people will play the game and so on, so that it also grows, right? And the blocks will emit cryptos. So in our case, this BLS. What we haven't yet revealed, and I don't show here, there will be in some cases some other blocks or some others, let's say space games flying around that could emit something else. Now, well, you will have space apes that you guys already own and we all own. And with those space apes, you can then battle for the block because a block will have an owner and the owner then gets nice yields of the block. What we haven't yet shared is that also part of the game, there will be so-called space objects. So with this, you can actually then build out your empire. Here you can think about, a defense satellite of a block. So if you don't want that somebody else comes, very close to your block and defending, well, you can put a defense satellite on it. You can also put spaceships or buy spaceships or produce spaceships or sell them in order to travel to a different part of the galaxy where you have different blocks and so on. So there will be also space objects that will drive the space economy in that sense. What I can say that we won't introduce all of the space objects immediately in the version 1. Most probably we will have one space object, so to start out, but the biggest focus is on blocks and space apes, and then quite soon we want to have also releases that we expand then the whole game dynamics. Now, how will then the battle for block work? So there are three things very important to understand. And here's the first time that we also share some numbers. So players who wants to claim a block, so here you can, so one space ape versus another, so they can claim a block. Now, if the block has already an owner, then he needs to go into a battle, which means if the block already has a space ape sitting on it, right, then we need to challenge that space ape to a battle. Now, the one who challenges, the person who sits in the block needs to pay a so-called battle fee, right? There will be a choice how much do you want to pay as a battle fee, because that will be a range. So that's not a fixed number, but it's a range. Now, the range will be everything from 150 to 750 BLS. So that is pretty much fixed, the number. There's a certain condition that most probably we're gonna adjust these numbers based on the market conditions also. So if the BLS now suddenly becomes very valuable, we still want to keep it accessible, right? And if a lot of people play it and so on, but the most important thing is it's gonna be a range, and the range will start out with 150 to 750. Now, interesting is that the more you put in as a battle fee, the higher your APR will also be then later on. So a block has emit BLS, and of course, the more you invest it, the more you can get back on it. So higher risk, higher rewards in a way. Now, the second thing, very important, 70% of the battle fee goes to the winner of the battle. So if you now battle somebody on the block and you actually win, right, that battle, so your space ape is better than the one sitting on that, then you get 70% back on of that. So to do a very quick math here, so if you pay 150, the minimum, 70% is around 100, then the 100 BLS goes to you back. Now, 30% goes to the space treasury. So that goes back to the space treasury. So we have again the BLS, and those BLSs there are used to basically be emitted to be paid out in the game by itself. Now, what happens with that 70%, right? Here's the beauty. The APR actually, that's your baseline, and the APR will be counted on that, right? And that's why the APR will also be crazy high. Those are 4-digit numbers, right? So
Five.
if you pay 5-digit, yes, 5-digit. Thank you for correcting me, Dylan. 5-digit numbers. I think the minimum is actually a 5-digit number. So if you have 100 BLS invested, because that's your, you won the battle and now you're sitting on the block, right? Then that gets, so the APR gets on those 100 BLS, and you will be earning that constantly. Until you, of course, don't lose a battle because somebody challenges you with a better space ape, maybe, and then he kicks you out. Then, of course, you stop earning that APR. We did the math. So how fast can you recover those, let's say, that 30% that goes to space treasury? It should be relatively fast. We are talking here normally anything about 18 to 26 hours. So it depends really on how much you invest, but in general, a day. Now, if you have a space ape sitting on a block, a very good defender, and somebody challenges you on to a battle, right, while you are sleeping, and you somehow your ape manages to win, right, that means that you get the 70%. So that person invested, then the battle, he put in, for example, 150, 50 goes to the treasury, but 100 goes to you. So it can be that you wake up and you get, you won 1, 2, 3 battles. So you basically already double or triple anything that you invest on a block. So it's really important in the game, basically, whom do you choose as an attacker and whom do you choose as a defender on the block. So that would be really the main strategy here. And then, of course, how you play your BLS. Do you invest here a lot? Do you invest here a little? Are you very confident in your space ape that you have a strong one? Then you go with a higher battle fee in. If you're not so confident, you try a little bit less, and so on. So that's the main idea around this.
One thing, this is also magic. You don't know who is behind that block, so you really need to strategize that a bit before, right,
Yes.
KJX?
Very, very important. The blocks have a special property. They mask the space apes that are sitting on them. So any attacker doesn't know who he attacks, right? So it's a game of probability here, or statistical probability. Yeah, that's basically what is the set. Now, important to note is also that the block has also a certain amount of BLS on it, and once it's depleted, it turns into a rock, right? So then it's not there anymore. And then also a new blocks appears, and more blocks appear, and so on. So we have this game dynamic that basically introduces more block with more players and so on, so that we always have enough blocks to always satisfy a certain game dynamic there.
Okay, can I add something here? So this is also really important that the blocks appear and disappear depending also on the number of players that's playing the game. So this way we can really have good dynamical approach, and we expand the space. There are more blocks if there are more players, and the space also decreases blocks. So once they're, of course, emitted, once they emit BLS, they turn to rock and they also disappear. And if there's less players than when the block was appeared, then this block won't appear again. So it's really dynamic and really thought out process here.
Good. Now, if I continue here, we have some example screens here. These are actually made now already a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So first of all, there will be a space. Don't look at now the background. We are still doing the final designs, and users will be able to zoom in and zoom out, and there will be these 3B blocks. And you don't see it here, but there will be also written how much APR each block has, because the blocks have a minimum and maximum APR, and so that we will also kind of write that so that you know, okay, which one's block do you attack now. If you own a block, then you'll be able to customize it, which means you can put your flag on it, right? And the flag, you can put whatever you want on it, so that it's also visible which block is now taken and which block is still free, right? I hope that by the next Ape Fiasco, we can also give you a demo, a real-time demo, but I actually wanted to fire it up today, and I got some errors that I didn't know how to solve myself, so I needed to just use the screens. I apologize for that. Yes, so that's basically on the screens. Now, very soon, we don't have yet the official date, but very soon the beta will begin. Things, as you see, are taking shape slowly. Every week we are introducing something and doing something. So yeah, that's more about it now as of today. And now time to Q&A.
Get your question in, guys. We have one question already in, and after that, I will start with the questions we had from yesterday and the day before.
Okay.
Splash just asked, if you win a battle, is there a minimum time before somebody can battle you again for this block?
No, there is no limitation on the battle on the block itself. So the blocks, they have no limitation, and it is possible that how to say, that somebody really battles you in the next minute. So that can happen, right? But you also have to know that there's another component. I didn't mention it now. It's the stamina of the ape, right? So there will be a limitation on the ape, how many times he can battle, right? So yes, it always can happen that somebody has a lot of ape and then he just chooses a different ape to battle. But in general, we believe that with the stamina, we will control the speed of the battles in a way. So block by itself doesn't have limitation, but the limitation has how many times your ape can battle in a way, or how much that is. So the limitation will come from that one.
Once the block becomes a rock, is it dead and will no longer be used in the game?
That's a good question. Honestly, if I'm perfectly honest, we are still thinking about it. We believe that in the beginning, it can still be fun seeing a rock flying around there, but we also think about, does it make sense that after I don't know how many days we have then suddenly, I don't know how many rocks flying around that. So most probably they will disappear for now. Later on, we can think about also something that maybe you can build your base with the rocks that you get that stay yours. So that can also be a thing. But for now, I think we would just probably phase them out.
There's a question from Mick. Won't all blocks be monopolized by those with stronger apes? As mentioned before by KGX, there is the component stamina the apes have, so you're not be able to attack like every 5 minutes with your ape a block, because after some time your ape needs some rest.
That's correct. And also, if you look at the Space Apes Club and if you look at the Space Apes, the beauty on NFT is really that all the apes are different and have different properties. So some of them have some of them have better attacking power, some better defending power, some better agility, and then of course recovery time, how fast they can recover, so how many battles they can battle a day and how much stamina they get and so on. So it's quite dynamic, right? So you can have a powerful ape, but that doesn't mean that you will always win, because the one who is on the block, for example, the defender, maybe he has a very good stamina, maybe he's better at defending, maybe I don't know, he's better at agility but has better stamina. It's low on that one, but that random combination at just that right point in time will make him win. So it's not an absolute guarantee that you will have a super powerful ape. That we make sure of that. So that's number one. There's number two, something that we haven't yet talked about, or I think it was just announced somewhere, is there's literally a pray to God, space ape God functionality in it. What does that mean? Is that in a fight, if we see that there's a super powerful ape and like a very small ape, so David versus Goliath situation, we call it that, then we say, okay, that's maybe not really good. So we are triggering a pray to God functionality. And the pray for God functionality basically means that there's a certain literally randomness, and maybe you have luck, and maybe the space apes gods are with you, and it gives your David so much power that you actually beat the Goliath in that situation, right? So that's also a percent chance that actually that can happen. So with this is also a preventing measure that there cannot be one powerful ape just running around and beating everyone. It just cannot happen in that sense. And then the third thing, which I haven't now put into the presentation, but I personally believe would be the most fun part of the game, is the so-called after battle events. So what does that mean? Certain apes have a so-called after battle event assigned to them, or basically a property. We already introduced 4 of them. So we have the gold diggers, we have the protectors, we have the the ninja, the thief, and of course our Hellboy, which is also very nice. And what does that mean? That after a game, basically something happens, something is triggered. So for example, with the gold digger, if the gold digger wins, right, then he gets even more APR than he would get normally. So it's in your interest to actually fight with the gold digger instead of other powerful ape, right? Because you can have more return on investment. Now, for example, if you have a thief on as a defender, right? A thief, well, he steals stuff, right? So there can be a powerful ape that beats you. Yes, he will win the battle and the block is his, but your thief will steal some stuff of him, right? So his rewards. So then it's again, you are in kind of compensated to that. And so on. So we will introduce these after battle events also in a later point of time. But again, this is another preventing measure that there cannot be, just somebody running around and monopolizing everything, but it's really dynamic. And if I just say, look, if you have good space apes, right, then hold on to them, because they will bring you good things, and nobody can just here, go and be a rich kid and play. I hope that answered the question.
What are the bot policies in place we have?
The bot policies. I would
Sure.
actually need to hand over this question to our developers, but maybe Dylan, if you can know.
Dule, you're also here. You can take over, but I think there is not needed, because there are a lot of randomness, and then you really need to have space ape and then stamina. You cannot fight like infinite. So yeah, in this case, no extra bot policies needed. Dule, correct me if I'm wrong.
So it makes totally sense there. There is no need for a specific bot policies, because you can't earn more money when you play more. There is a limit with your stamina. So I think that should answer the question. The next one is from Splash. If you win a block and your ape is tired, can you use another space ape to defend the block, assuming you own more than one ape?
Yes, for sure. I mean, that's the whole point. You have your crew, you have your team, and you can use any ape. So you can send one then for attacking, and then decide, okay, now I won, and I'm gonna choose somebody else for defending, right? There's a follow-up question that normally comes is, can you use the same ape then, for multiple things? Yes, you can. We won't put a limit on that. So if you have one ape, sitting on one block as a defender, you can go to another block and use again the same ape as an attacker. But please be aware that every battle is, taking his stamina. So which means if you go into a battle, you will decrease his stamina, which means that suddenly, you have an ape sitting on a block that has less stamina. I don't know if that's smart then, right? And if you have one ape sitting on two blocks, can he actually be, then you are risking the fact that he may lose the battle sooner because he can get attacked on two blocks, right? So there'll be no limit on that, but you can use any ape on any block as an attacker or a defender.
Great. So I will start off with the questions we had from yesterday. Let's start. Can you tell us more about the marketing company you're hiring? Who are they? What is their strategy? What are their past experience?
So we mentioned that. I mentioned that before. I think we won't repeat ourselves. This session will also be recorded, so people can also check this later. But as mentioned, this will come in next AMA session. Marketing advisors will come live also on AMA session and speak out to themselves. Gladly, I think we can. Maybe you read the question, then we see if we already answered it in the whole session. Then we don't need to repeat ourselves. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Will the game lose the current tokenomics in a bid to chase listing?
How will the game?
Will the game lose the current tokenomics in a bid to chase listing?
I don't know if I fully understand the question. To lose the current tokenomics.
So tokenomics like 42 millions of BLS, everything stays as it is.
Yes.
Nothing is touched there. It's still deflationary token. We still have burns on space 2. So from tokenomics side, nothing changes. Yeah. Maybe the justice change that we will actually buy back BLS tokens so that we will have them for the sustainability of the whole game for the years to come, not just for a few months and then over. This is really long-term approach here. We are building here something for the long term.
And the change is also that with BLS you will not yield anymore the BNBs in 1000 blocks. So that's really more of the compliance thing to chase the listing stuff. So BLS will be fully a utility token for the game.
So the next question we have is from EO Destroyer. Is Space 1 done or is it getting a makeover? If a makeover and BLS won't be yielded, what will be the rewards for taking blocks? So I think we talked about this before already. Correct me, EO Destroyer, if something isn't answered in this question from you. Just write it in the chat. And there's also your next question. Are you 100% settled on the blockonomics that you speak of? If you are, can you just make this public?
Okay, so one part we made public today is the blockonomics. So the blockonomics really depends on a block, right? It's specific. So it will be arranged. Both will be arranged based on the battle fee, based on the APR, and so on. And that will be quite dynamic. So it's really hard now to make something public because, well, it may change based on more players or less players and so on. What we know for sure is what we made already today public is that the starting, as we start out, will be the battle fee 150 to 750, so increased by 150, 300, 450, and so on. The APR, the minimum APR will be 5 digits. We will not make that public out of a simple reason. We believe it's quite sweet and we want to use that more in the marketing material once it's come closer to the release and so on. We have a really nice, let's say, big Excel table where we can calculate all of these stuff. So it's pretty much set, but as said, it's also dynamic in a way that it will be adjusted based on the number of players. Yeah.
There's the next question from KJX. Who's excited for today?
Well, I am. Okay, good.
What
That's
are the
one.
top 5 priorities for the dev team currently?
That's a good one, actually. Our developers can say it, but I can maybe sum it up. I see a smile on Nate here. We have now 3 platforms, right? We have 1000 Blocks, we have the Space Apes Club, and we have the Infinity Battles. Currently, literally these days is probably was the priority on the change of the rewards pool, Space 1 and Space 2, because this is something we planned and needs to be done immediately. So that's really now the highest priority. So number 2 is, of course, the work on Infinity Battles is going on, and developers are on that. I think the UI is now almost finished. I saw already the logic for the battles is done. Now it's more about connecting the things, if I'm not mistaken, and I can already tell you there's a hackathon planned very soon, so we're gonna probably post a picture or 2 out of it to basically push that a little bit more. On the Space Apes Club, the next priority is to also enable the connection of your wallet so that people can actually connect with their wallet on the Space Apes Club and then only see your particular Space Apes that you have in your crew. That will for sure come before the Infinity Battles because we believe that's an important piece, so that you also can get ready before the battles and so on. So that's kind of, the priorities in these 3 areas.
Will our wallets be connected to the Space Ape Club so that we can compare what we have easier?
Well, soon. I mean, for sure, before the Infinity Battles. Now, dates a little bit hard to tell, but I do hope that we are talking here about days, maximum 2-3 weeks, and not months.
When can we expect this market expert to be revealed next AMA?
Yep,
Is there
next
something
AMA.
more? Okay, next AMA, great.
Actually, I have meeting with him tomorrow. Then we will plan out also next AMA and also strategy and everything.
The next questions are from Splash. For also something from the marketing guru, he wants to know: have they finished working on their other commitments? As I understand, we were waiting for this to happen before they came on board. Also, what track record do they have? Success promoting other projects? I think Dylan, you mentioned once something about the track record.
Yeah, but I will let him tell that alone. To give his whole bio and what he was working on and so on. So we'll jump over this one. Sorry, guys.
How do you see the Infinite Battle and Spaces working together?
Okay, I can take this one. We currently, apart from that, both are our babies, right? And they are in the block space area, both. We see 2 direct connections. So number 1 is, as I already said in the previous presentation, the previous slides, Space 2 will be rebranded into the Space Apes base camp. So you can think about it, the Infinity Battles will have their own exclusive space on 1000 Blocks, right? So there will be a dedicated space where people can participate in that one and earn the BLS so that they can actually then, battle more again. So there will be a direct connection on that one. So this will be going to use the same thing. Now, the second connection, which is probably not so very obvious, is that the Space 1 will be rebranded to a billboard, and that billboard we also want to implement then, as a billboard somewhere in Infinity Battles. So you can imagine, a billboard floating around in the metaverse or somewhere, so that we have also that exposure there, right? So that it's then cross-connected in that sense. That's 2 very basic and simple connection for now.
What's your time horizon for listing on a centralized exchange? Are we talking about 6 months, 12 months plus? Anything you can say on this topic?
Dylan, do you want to answer this one?
Oh God, I always get these questions.
Yeah.
The hard ones. It's really hard to say anything about sex
Could it be
listing because
tomorrow or
yeah,
in 1 year?
it will be tomorrow. No, guys. So this, as mentioned before, that was now everything like blocked from this point of view that we were not legally possible to do this sex listing until we had this rewards pool. So as you know now, we are in this decommissioning phase until 5th June. So after that, we meet again with legal team, and then we can go from there. Okay, are we now legally compliant? Can we move forward with entity? Then we create entity, and then we move forward with text listing. Yeah, so it could be in next month.
Yeah. The thing maybe to add on that one, there are two elements. One is, of course, the legal thing. We need to get that in order, which means, June, we need to cut off that. We need to then redesign it. We need to have our books clean in that one, right? And we probably need a few weeks to make the legal stuff work. I mean, there's, of course, an audit and everything. So for sure, that will take at least the summer. So I wouldn't expect now a sex listing. Not tomorrow, for sure, not tomorrow, right? As Dylan said. Then the
That
second
was a joke.
component, the second element is that, well, it also costs quite a lot, right? So it also is an investment that we need to then consciously take to basically invest that money rather into a sex listing than in anything else. Now the question is then, of course, okay, when do we have probably enough investment that we feel comfortable in that? And that depends on one side on the space treasury, on the price movement of the BLS, right? Can we use that? But we also have, especially a nice date is to follow September, where we potentially can reuse some of the fundings that we have locked up in the Vault platform now. Correct? That's also something that we can think of.
Yes, true. And also
Yeah.
then again, where do we list? So
Yes.
a lot of
Yeah,
projects are really like, yeah, let's just list there, so just that we have like text liquidity and so on. But this is not our point of view. We had many meetings. We had also meetings with really experienced people, and anything else than tier one is totally throwing money out of the window. There are just bots that are handling trading there. It's really shitty market, I would say. So we don't take like anything else as tier one. That's something to say here.
And I think you touched on it a little bit, Dylan, there. The market timing itself is an important factor as well as to, entering into a listing. So that's something to kind of watch carefully, because you want to maximize, the excitement and the return and the direction of, the value that you get with a listing.
Absolutely, that too. So current market conditions, as you all are aware, are not the best, but we're keeping an eye always on that and just looking how the things develop out there.
Will the whitelist remain open until all spaces are filled? Or are we closing it as soon as we drop the game?
I can take this one. We had discussion already. There are like 240 places, but as they are not like going like bread and butter, we were actually thinking to even close it down, like limiting it to put this number a bit lower. And this is definitely something we are currently still in discussions, but could happen that we'll do announcement that okay, there are not 240 places anymore. We will put this number down to something else.
Then there is one more question from EO Destroyer. When Lambo?
Also tomorrow.
Also tomorrow. No financial advice.
But Julian, I thought we already shipped them to Florida, right? Somebody gave the address there.
Yeah. This
If
really
you could
there's
get me
one
a
waiting
Fiat
for you.
first, if I get
Yeah.
a Fiat first, that'd be great. Then we'll work on the Lambo.
Okay.
But currently it's better if we just send out Teslas because of gas prices and so on. So Lambo is not the best thing anymore, right?
Who cares about gas prices here, huh?
I don't.
True, this is crypto world.
This crypto world, nobody cares about gas price.
True. All right. If you have some more questions, the last ones, type them in now or speak up.
I had a question real quick. So I put it in the chat. Basically, it's about gas prices and attacking and defending. So I guess I'd like to know the dynamics of when you attack and when you defend. I would assume it's on the chain, and you would have to do individual transactions between the two. And what costs are we talking about incurring, or is this just completely negligible?
That's more or less negligible. Negligible was the English word on it, because actually the attacking and defending that happens in our central logic, but we are then putting the owner of the block on the chain, right? So that's then negligible is like really little. I think details on
Okay.
that.
It's one transaction actually, so we really got it down to one transaction only. You do a lot of different things, but at the end, it's just one transaction that you pay. It's like currently, I don't know, 0 point something, or I don't know, it's 1 BUSD currently on Smart Chain, on Binance Smart Chain, something like that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sorry, that answered my question. But you said one BUSD per, or is this just kind of spitballing? Like, I mean, one
It's
BUSD per
whole like fight.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like really you will do a lot of different things, but at the end, everything will be put together into one transaction. Like KJX mentioned, we'll put on the chain the owner of that block, and everything else is written in the logic, written in the database, and so on. KJX, you want to add something here?
I mean, just important to understand is that is only written if you actually become the owner of the block, right? So because then we need to write the new owner of the block onto the chain. Now, if you lose that fight, then of course that's then a little bit different. But I would suggest that we will have a detailed on that one. But when we talk with developers, that was always like that's the minimum. We should not be even talk about.
Okay, yeah, because I was a little bit confused because it would seem that if there's a winner or if there's not a winner, like you don't win it, you're not going to replace anybody. So how do you do one transaction preemptively, knowing what the gas prices are going to cost, unknowing the end of the battle, or is that just calculated instantly and you're paid? You pay it just. It's weird to me almost. It's almost like that could be exploited.
Good point. And first of all, thanks for raising the question. Also, a little bit more technical. Fortunately, we don't have a developer sitting here now, but I will note that down, and we will definitely address that also. Pretty sure that was thought about. I'm probably not the best person to answer it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about all that.
No, it's okay. That's great.
Looks like we have covered all the questions.
Yeah, also about time. We're here for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I think, yeah, really cool. A lot of questions popped up. Thanks also to KJX. He really nailed it with his presentation. I think we really revealed a lot of stuff today. Yeah, but thank you everybody for attending this AMA session. Looking forward for the next one.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the questions and the engagement. Definitely the next one will be exciting too. Wish a nice day, evening, morning, wherever you are sitting.
Thank you much. Thank you very much for coming and joining this AMA, and stay tuned. Next one will follow.
All right, bye.
Bye.